Left, we're past a case that will have copies of the so-called Book of the Dead, the Book of Two Ways. The papyrus and the colours are all original. They've been preserved, that colour. It's astonishing. Then you will turn, as you go in, right, it's sort of left here, and you will see the mummified remains of this lady, who now, thankfully, has been more tastefully covered up than my picture. She died about 700 BC. And if you remember downstairs the siege of Lachish, you may remember the pharaoh Taharka. He brought his army up in 701, a year before, to fight Sennacherib. I can only speculate, was any of her family involved in that? If so, she probably heard of Isaiah, certainly Hezekiah, and definitely Sennacherib. Well, she died. She was quite a well-to-do lady. And when you died, you were taken over to the West Bank. That is where your body was preserved. They stripped you naked and they washed you all over, trying to make sure that you really were dead before they proceeded with the rest of the thing. I don't know how many of you remember or know the process of mummification. If you don't, you will love this. The left side is sacred. So one of the things you'll see is this hook that's there. That was put up the left nostril, and then jammed up to break the bone, and then they started to get the brain out. So you'll see that, next to it, you'll see a pair of tweezers. They look very modern. Ladies especially, or maybe some of the gents, I don't know. But when you're doing your eyebrows, you'll never forget this now, because if there was any bits of brain still hanging from the nose, you use the tweezers to get it out, all right? So next time, tomorrow, was it? All right, think of my mummy. And then, to make sure you've got all the brain, because the brain doesn't do anything, as we know, they poured in through the nostrils a mixture of wine and myrrh. Myrrh was used in mummification, also in medicine. How significant, therefore, that in Matthew chapter 2, the visit of the Magi, one of the gifts they brought to the young family was the gift of myrrh. Because they were going to go down into Egypt, so they could trade it when they were down there. And so that's another thing. Now this lady, when that was done, you'll see a knife in there next, a flint knife. Gentlemen, if you have tears in your eyes, you have my permission. Because that's the type of knife that Joshua took to circumcise his soldiers. We read about in the book of Joshua, without any anaesthetic. I've seen grown men walking with their legs crossed as they've gone through there. I've often wondered about circumcision. Who's the first one you practice on? And you hope the guy doing it doesn't have hiccups as well, don't you? But anyway, I'm not going to go down that pathway. But you'll see this knife, and you'll see a fearsome wound in her left side, the sacred side, where all the viscera is taken out, mummified separately, put in 4 jars, symbolising the 4 sons of Horus. For some reason, they're the other side of the room, but there we are. And then when that's all been done, she's covered in salt for 40 days. Then she's washed off. She's become this colour. She's become hard as rock. And then it depends on how much money you've got as to what is applied, bandages and amulets, the type of coffin, the type of sarcophagus, the type of grave. Of interest for us, apart from just seeing someone from near the time of Sennacherib, is that this is the process that Jacob and Joseph went through. Jacob was taken and buried. Joseph, his remains, travelled for 40 years through the wilderness at the Exodus. So he must have been a pretty hard chap at that time. And then eventually he was taken, I don't know if you remember this morning, we were in Samaria. He was taken to Samaria, to Shechem, where Jesus was with the woman at the well, and he was buried there. God's covenant man in the centre of God's covenant land. And they're looking for Egyptian burials as we speak. They found some of them. I don't think they found Joseph yet. I wonder when they do, whether or not they have a multicoloured coat, who knows? But I hope they unwrap his face so we can see what he looks like. So that makes this really relevant for us, I think, is the process that she went through, is the process they went through. And incidentally, the times that were given in the book of Genesis have now been proved to be true. So the Bible is true yet again. So we're going to go and have a little look at her, and then just beyond her, there is a doorway we will go out. Oh, one other thing. If you've got any young people, they actually do sleepovers in this room. They provide these sleeping bags. And at the end, you bring the sleeping bags to the young people. And I'm told it's very spectacular when the lights go out The girls are laying there and the boys come out with their hands around the throat. Enjoy.